Hello and welcome to Ed's Eats. I'm Ed McFarland, the chef owner of Ed's Lobster Bar. Today we're gonna make seared tuna tacos. We have beautiful sushi grade tuna. We're gonna make some Pico de Gallo with tomato, onion, jalapeno, and cilantro, some sliced avocado on top, and a little lemon mayonnaise. Most importantly with the tuna is that it's ice cold. You can even stick it in the freezer for a few minutes before you sear it off. This way it doesn't overcook. You want it to be super crispy and seared on the outside and red all across the middle. We're gonna start by seasoning our tuna generously with salt and pepper. What we're doing here is creating a nice layer to crust the tuna, and you'll notice that if you eat it, you won't get any of the seasoning inside the middle of the tuna. That we're actually, once we slice it, going to sprinkle a little more salt on the tuna itself. And I like a lot of pepper on my tuna. Creates a nice crust and a little bit of spice. I'm going to flip that over, do the same thing. And you see I have a really nice thick piece of tuna. If it was thinner, I wouldn't sear the sides, but because this is so thick and nice, I'm going to season the sides here and they're going to get seared in the pan as well. So our tuna is nice and seasoned. It's really well coated. We're gonna go over to the stove and sear it. But one tip I wanna give you before we sear the tuna, once it's seared, we're gonna put it in the refrigerator so it gets cold right away, which will also help us slicing it later on. The warm tuna tends to break apart when you slice it, especially if your knife is not razor sharp. We're using a very thick stainless steel pan, and we're getting it extremely hot to the point where it's smoking. So we're turning our pan down to low. We're adding in the butter. We're gonna put the tuna right in there. Once the tuna is nice and crusted and like cardboard on one side, we're gonna drain the butter out, put a fresh piece of whole butter in, flip the tuna over, and sear it exactly the same way on all the sides now, the flip side and the sides of the tuna. It's about 3 to 4 minutes on the flat sides and 1 minute on the actual sides of the tuna, just to get a little crust. Once we fully seared the tuna, we're gonna take it right out of the pan and get it in the refrigerator to cool down. When we're heating our tortilla up, I like to do it on the grill, and you're just warming the tortilla up just to soften it so you can bend it into the taco shape. Our tuna's seared and chilling. We're gonna make our pico, and make as much pico as you need for as many servings of tuna tacos as you're making. So I'm making enough for 2 tacos. This is even a little excessive amounts, but when you have tomato and onion, you can always save the rest, wrap it up, put it in your refrigerator. Use what's necessary for this. Don't waste anything. We're gonna cut our tomato into cubes, and we're gonna do the same with our onion and the jalapeno. And if you have extra pico, this is great on any salad you're making. It can go on any dish. You could throw it into a pasta. Just great to have in the house as an extra thing. Make salsa with it. Throw it on top of chips. So many uses for this. Never gets wasted. And no need to get too fancy with the sizing. Cut it into a dice, nice cubes. Can be rustic, as we like to say in the kitchen. Do the same exact thing with our onion. And I'm gonna use a lot less onion here, so I'm just gonna cut a small portion of it. You wanna have like 4 to 1 tomato to onion here in this dish. So you see I just cut a little bit of the onion, and I'll reserve this onion for something else. I took only 1 small slice off the jalapeno. So the jalapeno cut into nice small dice here. After cutting the jalapeno, you definitely want to make sure that you thoroughly clean your board and your knife to get the spice off of it before you cut anything else. And just a rough chop on the cilantro, doesn't need to be too fine. We're gonna get a little squeeze of lemon juice. It's about a half a lemon. Some salt. And pepper. Mix it around. We're definitely going to give a little taste here. Make sure that it's seasoned well. And that's super delicious. It's light and fresh. Tomato, red onion, fresh jalapeno, a little bit of cilantro, not too much so it doesn't overpower the dish. It's really a perfect complement of flavors with a little squeeze of lemon juice. We're just about ready to make our tacos here. And so I want to point out, if you have these beautiful little holders, they work really great. They look great when you serve them. The tacos can be made flat on a dish, side by side, just by filling the centers. And then you can pick it up and fold it. However, if you have these, they're fantastic, or anything that kind of holds the shell in place. We're going to start first by filling our flour tortillas with the pico. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to get our tuna out of the refrigerator. One of the things to watch here on the tuna before we cut it is, if you can see these lines here, the grain of the tuna. Same thing with the steak, is we want to cut this way against the grain. You never want to cut with the grain of the fish. So against the grain. And super sharp knife. And you see this, the end is always going to be a little more cooked. And then as we get to the center here, you'll see that it's completely red almost through the whole tuna. So our tuna's sliced, and you'll see a little bit of the shaving here. We're just gonna take a little bite of this and we'll check the seasoning. And you're really getting enough salt on it, but it's not too salty. A little bit of spice from the peppercorn just to kick it up a notch, but it really works well. We're gonna reserve the rest of that tuna for another dish or later on. And bring our taco shells back over here with the pico. We're gonna layer some of this nice, beautiful tuna in here. And if you don't want to have the tortilla shells, lay this right on top of the Pico de Gallo as a salad. That's one nice slice of avocado on top of the tuna. A little pinch of salt. And then we have our lemon mayo. If you have a squeeze bottle, certainly put this in a squeeze bottle. Put just a little pinch of the pico on top for the color, on top of the taco. And there we have it. Simple, easy seared tuna tacos. You can make this at home. See how simple it is. Use the easy techniques. Remember to cut across the grain, not with the grain of the fish. And remember, ice cold when you sear it, and ice cold before you cut it, and it'll be a success. I'm ready to eat. Seared tuna tacos, this is all about the freshness of the product, the ingredients here. Simple, flavors bursting in your mouth. Let each ingredient speak for itself. Not too much of one thing. And I'm ready to dig in here. I mean, just take another look at this. The coloring in here, I can open this up and you could see the way it's layered. Everything's in there. You got beautiful colors. Flip it over and you can really see the red on the tuna here. I'm really excited about seared red tuna, sushi grade like this. And I can smell the cilantro, the lemon juice, all the flavors are really coming out individually. But before I dig into this taco, really enjoy myself, if you're enjoying this video, please make sure to subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube at Ed's Eats on the Ed's Lobster Bar channel. It really means a lot to us. Your comments are really appreciated, as well as your subscription. It does not go unnoticed. Look for giveaways in the future for everybody who subscribes and comments. So I'm gonna dig in. Wow. You know what's really amazing about this? The little bit of lemon juice in here really bursts out in the flavor and just takes that little bit of spice off of the peppercorn, which really makes this nice, super fresh, light, delicious. It's like springtime right now as I'm eating this. We'll see you next time on Ed's Eats.